You've been told the lie of just pushing through, grinding harder, and using all of your willpower. But motivation isn't just about forcing action, it's about how your brain is wired to want the action within the first place. I'm about to break down for you the real neuroscience behind motivation. You'll learn how dopamine drives your desire to move, focus, and execute, and how to optimize your neuroscience so that consistency becomes effortless and that burnout just becomes optional. If you don't know me, I'm Ned. I've helped hundreds of guys get in amazing shape and build elite performing bodies, turning their average physiques into high performance weapons. Whilst helping hundreds of guys get in amazing shape, I've also got in amazing shape myself and dialed in my physique, won a boxing match by knockout, won a bodybuilding competition and got my pro card, ran ultra marathons and marathons without training, whilst building my business, helping other guys get in amazing shape, and actually helping the people around me be more financially free through just putting effort in, both into my physical life, my mental life, and my business life. And what I want to help you do today is understand motivation and the neuroscience behind that so you can push yourself every single day to build the life that you want. In the next few minutes, you're going to understand how dopamine actually works, how your brain regulates motivation, and how to rewire your system so that your habits stick, your workouts feel amazing, and you can actually perform every single day in and out. Motivation isn't just about feeling fired up. It's a biological state driven by real, measurable brain activity. Here's the truth, movement and motivation are interlinked. If your brain's not driving you to go, your body won't follow. That's where dopamine comes in. It's a neuromodulator, and it's not just a feel-good chemical like everyone thinks it is. It's the thing that tells your brain this is worth pursuing. Go get that thing. It's what shapes your energy, your focus, and your decision making. When we talk about motivation, we're not just talking about mindset. We're talking about the neurocircuit in your brain that literally controls your desire to take action. It all starts in the ventral tegmental area. To make this easier for me, we're just going to call it VTA, which it's commonly known as. Think of the VTA as your brain's ignition switch. It generates dopamine and it gets things moving. From there, dopamine travels to the nucleus accumbens, which is your brain's reward center. And because I struggle with saying the nucleus accumbens, or however you say it, we're going to call it NA. The most important thing is that you know it's the brain's reward center. Basically, the part of the brain that tells you, look, that looks exciting. But there's a third key player, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is basically right behind your forehead. This is your more rational brain. It helps you plan, delay gratification, and control your impulses, where the other two are telling you, go get it, go do it. Without the prefrontal cortex, we'd end up doing so many things that we'd put ourselves in more danger, and we'd be doing too much to actually do anything. To sum it up, the prefrontal cortex is the thing that tells you, hang on, is this actually worth it? So here's how it all comes together. The VTA goes to the NA. That's the accelerator that pushes you towards the goal. The prefrontal cortex acts as the brakes to regulate decisions to make sure that you're not crashing trying to chase everything that you crave. Here's the thing that most people don't realize. Dopamine does not spike after you get the reward. It spikes before, in anticipation of that reward. And that's why you get that buzz just thinking about success, talking about these big goals to your friends, scrolling through social media before you reach the perfect reel, thinking about where you might be if you went on that holiday, even if you don't take the action to fly to Greece or actually do what it takes to be successful. You're still going to get the dopamine from thinking about what it would be like if you had that life, if you had that outcome, if you were in the Maldives or if you were in a lovely island. And the same things happen in the short term. Before you eat that pizza that you want to eat, you're getting dopamine. Before you watch that film that you want to watch, you're getting dopamine. Before you smoke that cigarette that you want to smoke, you're getting dopamine. And this is an essential factor to know to become successful. It shows that your brain is built to reward pursuit, not just the outcome, because your brain is built for you to go get the outcome, for you to go take the action. And the first thing you need to do before taking an action is want to take the action. So dopamine acts as that kicker that makes you want to step forward and want to start something. And just understanding this changes absolutely everything. And I'll explain why. Every time you experience pleasure, dopamine goes up, but the brain always compensates for this increase in dopamine. That spike is followed by a drop, a dip below the baseline. And that drop that you have, it's what creates the craving for more. That feeling that you just feel empty or that you feel like you need something else to give you that kick. Whether it's sugar, social media, nicotine, junk food, porn, the seesaw applies. You have the kick, you drop, and then you feel like you need it again. And if you just keep hitting dopamine without any recovery, you drop way below the baseline. Your motivation absolutely tanks, your focus just disappears, and you're just living feeling empty. And it's in these times that you always want more. You always want to watch the next porn video, or you always want to go and eat more junk food, or you always want to have another cigarette, because you're chasing something that you're low on. But chasing it more and having it more just puts you lower and lower. Let me put this into some perspective for you so you can understand what this looks like in a real world outcome. Food is around a 50% increase in dopamine. Sex is around a 100% increase in dopamine. Nicotine is about 150 increase in dopamine. Cocaine is about a 350% increase in dopamine. Meth is a 1000% increase in dopamine. And then caffeine is a 30 to 40% increase in dopamine, which mainly happens through adenosine regulation. What these show you is the bigger the kicker, the bigger the increase in dopamine, the bigger the feeling of it. We all know that meth is bad and the health consequences of it are too bad for us to try. But the people that do meth, they experience this huge thing of dopamine that whatever they do after that, they don't feel that they enjoy, which is why meth is so addictive. They then do more meth, they do more meth, because the first time they did meth will never be as good as the last time they did meth, because you cannot get back to that dopamine level that you once were at before. And a similar thing applies in real life. The first time you do nicotine won't feel as good as the next time, and you will need more and more nicotine to have that same feeling. The same thing happens with junk food. You might get a 100% increase in dopamine the first time you have that junk food, but as you go on, as you get used to it, your body doesn't give you as much dopamine as you normally would have had. And this is part of what's so crazy about it. You don't even need a substance to spike your dopamine. Just the anticipation of having that coffee in the morning increases your dopamine by some sort of percent. That's why scrolling on Instagram is where the dopamine comes from, because every time you scroll, your brain's in anticipation of what the next reel might be, how good the next reel could be, how much entertainment it could provide you, or what education you could get. And that's what's dangerous. Not the actual reel when you see it and you actually learn from it or you get the entertainment. It's the scrolling and the anticipation that just stacks and stacks and stacks on your dopamine until you put it to the side and you just feel empty. And the reason why this is so important to know is because you can actually realize it happening when you're doing it. So basically, the more dopamine you chase, the less that you actually feel it. Your brain adapts, your tolerance builds up, and your cravings increase. And that is literally how addiction starts. And it's not from drugs, it's consistent novelty and cheap formats of dopamine. That junk food that you ate, the coffee that you didn't need, those little things that just spike your dopamine, that give you that instant short-term gratification. The dopamine system is evolved to pursue. It's not evolved to be binged and to be overused. But in today's society, there's too many ways to get dopamine, which results in binging on dopamine becoming easier and easier, having more and more negative effects on the actions we take in life and how we feel about ourselves. And high performers don't fall into this trap. They have a system to stop themselves over consuming on dopamine so that they can perform high, delay gratification, and go for what they actually need. By using dopamine in a way that helps them go for their goals, take action on their goals, not bring them away into short form and pointless activities that don't actually give them any long-lasting results or give them results that actually are negative, such as being overweight, being lazy, being poor, or just not being happy with their life. Thankfully, your body has its own natural counterweight to dopamine. Enter the here and now molecules. These consist of three main molecules. Number one is serotonin. This is created in the Raphe nuclei and promotes calm and contentment. The second one is oxytocin, which is released during connection, bonding, and trust. The third one is prolactin. This is mainly post-orgasm, post-sex, and signals satisfaction and quiets the craving. And this video is here to help you get in amazing shape, here to help you become the guy that you want to be. What I do is I help entrepreneurs, busy professionals, and guys just get in the best possible position within their life. But one thing I do wrong is I sometimes mess up how I say my scientific words. So if at any point you think I've made a mistake, drop it in the comments. But the most important thing is this is all backed up by actual neuroscience. And even if I pronounce a word wrong, the actual science behind it is the important thing. And that's why I've wanted to be completely open with all of this for you guys. You don't just understand the actions you need to take, which I'm gonna go into in the next few seconds, but you actually understand why you need to take them. So serotonin, oxytocin, and prolactin. These chemicals are literally used to slow you down. They help you recover, rest, and feel good without the need to chase. If dopamine is the forward motion, these three are the ones that stop you. These are the brakes to the Formula One car. And if you didn't have brakes to the Formula One car, you'd end up crashing when you tried to go around every corner. And to be a high performer, you need the balance between the both of them. Too much outwards focus using dopamine will leave you burnt out. And then too much inwards focus from serotonin, oxytocin, and prolactin will leave you stagnant and not actually taking the actions you need to take. Knowing when to actually pursue and when to pause is the ultimate skill. Now I'm going to show you some practical neuroscience tools to actually rewire your brain to increase your motivation, allowing you to actually do the tasks every single day that you want to do without fail. The biggest killer of motivation today is overstimulation. Most people are stacking multiple dopamine triggers without even realizing it. You're eating ultra-processed foods, watching Netflix, and scrolling on TikTok all at the same time. And each one of these gives your brain a hit of dopamine. But stacking them together, that massively overloads the whole system. You feel good in the moment, but then that comes with the crash. Brain fog, fatigue, and no drive to do anything. If you want to reset your motivation system to do more, the first thing you need to do is simplify the stimulus that you have in your life. Do one thing at a time. Let your brain recover between dopamine hits. That's how you avoid throwing your reward circuit. The second thing you can do to rewire your brain to be naturally more motivated is to pursue effort-based dopamine. Because dopamine hits aren't always the problem. It's how you get them that really matters. Scrolling on social media is passive. Junk food is passive. Porn is passive. Your brain doesn't have to put in any work for the reward. Think about Pornhub. You open it up on Safari, you're sitting in your room, in your bed, alone, you're scrolling through hundreds of girls, and then you pick the one that works for you and you finish. You haven't had to do any work to get that. You're not in a relationship that you're looking after, that you're providing for. You haven't gone on a date. You put in no work to get the reward that you're getting. And you can do that every single day. You could do that multiple times a day if you want to, because it's passive, because it requires no input from you really to actually get the result that you want. And all this does is make your brain dependent on these shortcuts because it knows it can get that dopamine faster. Now compare that to training hard in the gym, focusing on a deep work session and being proud of the work that's moved your life forward, learning a new skill and being proud of that new skill that you've learned, cold exposure or putting yourself through something that you don't want to do. These all require effort first and then you get the reward after. And the difference is critical because when dopamine is earned, it raises your baseline, which is the complete opposite of passive dopamine, which decreases your baseline. This raise of your baseline means more energy, more drive, and more resilience over time. The third thing you can do is add controlled discomfort. If you want to build a stronger dopamine system, you have to stress it in the right way. Temporary and controlled discomfort rewires your brain to be less dependent on cheap simulation. This could be fasting for 16 to 24 hours. And yes, that's hard to do. That is the point. Cold showers or ice baths, and yeah, you don't want to do that. That is the point. Intense resistance training. That really pushes you to failure. These stressors create short-term difficulty, but they train your brain to value the reward that comes after the discomfort. Over time, you'll notice that your cravings drop and that your motivation returns. Number 4 is schedule stillness, and this is such an important and overlooked one. Charlie Morgan, Alex Hormozi, and some massive people in the business space talk about this all the time. Presence is a skill that when high achievers lose, they start to lose their ability to be a high achiever. And presence is also a skill that when average people learn, they start to get the ability to become a high achiever. When you're constantly chasing, working, and trying to achieve, you're in a dopamine dominant state. That is powerful, but it's unsustainable on its own. To balance that out, you need to activate the here and now chemicals that we spoke about earlier. The serotonin, the oxytocin, and the prolactin. These are triggered by practices such as meditation, breath work, reading, walking in nature without your phone, sitting in silence in a quiet room. Because stillness isn't weak. It's about recovering to become the weapon that you want to be the next day or in the next hour. It's the exact thing that recharges your brain, resets your emotional baseline, and gives you the capacity to go again with full power. The formula is simple. Stop chasing cheap dopamine, earn it through effort, use discomfort as a tool, and balance it out with stillness. This is how elite entrepreneurs and individuals build a body and brain that outperforms everyone, because it can perform every single day without burning out. Let me know on Instagram if you want my full dopamine reset checklist. DM me the word dopamine and I'll send it right over to you. To sum things up, motivation isn't magic, it's biology. And when you understand how to train it, everything changes. You stop chasing cheap dopamine, you start building systems around effort, recovery, and presence. And the result is you don't just feel better, but you perform better.